Since kindergarten, we are groomed. It's a competition. Life is a competition. And that competition doesn't just happen in your professional life. Competition becomes your sanskar. You're actually competing in every aspect of your life.
And I've been so gracious, happy that I was able to get that feeling every day when my student is winning and I'm, say, 20 and 19 and I cheat to lose and I step down to lose. And the feeling is so nice that it's really strange that I have to say it in this way, but actually winning has very little meaning. And when you own that space and then your student and he's or she is better than you, and they feel happy and you're like happy to lose.
How would you look at letting go for different people today? Right? How should they relate to the word like letting go? A very warm welcome to another edition of our ThinkRight Podcast. And today we have a guest, where I think even the English vocabulary is going to be very limiting for me to describe. But, maybe a king and a kingmaker, somebody who has won so many awards for what he has achieved himself. The Arjuna Award, the Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Award, Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, so much already himself. But more importantly, someone who has helped others succeed, the Dronacharya Award. Both names that we talk of today, Saina, Nehwal, PV Sindhu, all have come, from an effort and I think an energy that has been put in by the one and only Pullela Gopichand. Thank you so much, Gopi, for being here with us and, especially making it to be here with us. And I think what we are hoping through today's podcast is to see how we can share some stories, from your life and see how mindfulness and, everything else that a person lives with, can come out of this conversation. And, to guide us through this wonderful discussion, we have with us, of course, our ever radiant sister Shivani, whose words, just seem to be the right words every time we have a conversation. So I think the lesser I say, the better. And, really have the two of you, really talk us through so many different aspects that we would like to cover today. But thank you again, Gopi, for being here with us. And maybe to begin with, right, would love to understand, your journey as an athlete, as a sports person, and then, of course, the transition to enabling others to become the best version of themselves. How did badminton actually happen to you? And really take us a little bit through the early days, of your life when you were thinking of this sport.
Thank you for having me. For me, it's only by God's grace in some sense, I would say, because my father worked in a bank. So every 3 years, he would be posted somewhere else. So we were in Orissa, Tamil Nadu, coastal Andhra. And then I was in 6th class, we moved to Hyderabad. And when I came to Hyderabad, this was about 83, 84. So it was a time when Cricket World Cup was won and all of us were super inspired to play cricket. So I also was in the same group playing cricket at the apartment. Broke a few window panes. Mother had complaints from the neighbors. So mom said, let me take him to the stadium so that she doesn't get complaints from the neighbors. And actually I went to join for cricket. Somehow cricket admissions were full. Tennis, the next known sport, somehow my parents decided against it. But years later, they told me that it was because there were too many cars parked outside. So they thought probably a rich man's sport. So forget it. I went to the badminton court in some sense because it was empty. And I just started playing. So it's only by chance that I picked up the sport. But also later, when I went to school, typical Telugu family, you had only two career options, either you're a doctor or an engineer. So I took maths, physics, and chemistry in my 11th and 12th, thinking of engineering as an option. Luckily, I failed the exam and I got a year to play badminton or prove myself. And in that year, I actually got a job in Tata Steel. And that literally was the beginning of my badminton career full time. So although in that time in between I was playing, I was not so sure that this was my career. I wanted it to be, but it could have easily not been. So that's how my starting days were.
And then you went on to become the All England Open badminton champion, only the second Indian ever after Prakash Padukone to do that. You're the national coach now for on top of for the badminton team today for India. And so tell me how has this sport, right, from those days when you were just playing it, you went there, you said this whole circumstances happened. How did that excellence start happening in your life from that point on? How did you know that, yes, I'm going to be good at it? Was it just that you saw yourself better than others, or something else triggered that?
I don't know how it started, when it started. That's a journey which I'm not very sure I do remember. But very early on, I kind of realized in some sense that if you need to be better, you need to work harder. And if my opposition at the district level or at the state level were putting 3 hours in, I would put another half an hour extra. So I would just compound more work, better work. And that's what I thought would lead me to success all the way. And for a long time, it worked. It was that same thing in the sense, if my competition was running 4 rounds, I'll have to run 5. If they were practicing 30 minutes, I'll have to do 40 minutes. And somehow that is the mindset which was there all the time, competing. And it worked for a significant amount of time till I got to the national level and I started winning. But then there was a certain phase, and I think it's important I mention this part because the story is incomplete without this part. There was a certain time in 91, I won the junior nationals. I played for the country. I got a job. Then that's how my badminton career was. But in 94, I had an ACL tear in my left knee. And I came back out of it and started winning. But again, in 96, I had another surgery on my same leg. And again, a surgery on my same leg again in 98. And between this, I actually started playing, fell down, had another surgery, played, fell down, had another surgery, played, fell down, had another surgery. And at this time, somewhere, this mantra or this concept of competing went out of my head. All I cared about was to get up and do the best of what I can be. And for me, that change of perspective made me a lot happier, made me a lot more friendly, because now I was not looking at competition. I was looking at myself to be the best of what I can be. And if there was somebody competing, I would actually say, come on, let's together compete and let's push each other. So I think that phase and that shift in thinking was very critical in my development as an athlete. So excellence mindset came initially by competing. Then it shifted over. But somewhere in this entire journey, I think pride was very important. Because today, when we look at performances of badminton, we are looking at a good world level athletes being produced consistently for the last, say, 10, 12, 15 years. But in 1994, we actually had the Indian team not sent for Commonwealth Games because our level was not even top 6 of Commonwealth nations. So for me to start off with, the baseline was very, very low. Mm. So when I went abroad and I lost, it was like my pride was hurt. Like, how can Indians be so bad? How can we lose to these Chinese guys, Indonesians, English guys? And that started to burn. And that feeling of hurt, I would carry it in training when I came back. And that made me work harder and harder. So for me, I think competition, excellence is one side, but there is also that element of pride where you are hitting above your weight category when your pride is hurt. And I think somewhere in between these three weaving things is where my story of badminton player is.
No, I think so beautifully put, and I think, I'll move to Sister Shivani, because this shift that you talked of, right, where you kind of got detached from the outcome and you said, how do I become the best? But still have directionally that, it's the pride for a larger good. How can India not be right there, right? I think these are very major shifts. But the way you explained it, it takes time, and it came probably naturally through certain things. And if these shifts happen with millions of people in India, there's no reason why Indians can't. And it's a universal world. So we want the shift to really happen in as many people. Why doesn't it happen?
Probably because most of us don't shift out from the first one of competition. Since kindergarten, we are groomed. It's a competition. Life is a competition. And that competition doesn't just happen in your professional life. Competition becomes your sanskar. You're actually competing in every aspect of your life. It's so subtle that even within family, you would be competing. It is so subtle that you will compete even in seva, where you're not going to get anything. It's seva, because it's not about profession. It's about the sanskar of competition. And what was very beautiful about what he shared was, when I stopped competing, I was happier. So this, if anybody can pick up this line from here, when I stopped competing, I was happier and I was more friendly. So that is a second one that comes there. So it automatically making you a better version, first of yourself as a person, then as the performer, but first the better version of your person. Because when we're competing with people, we can never be very friendly with them internally. We may be very nice to them behaviorally, but internally, the subtle intent is you should fail. That's my subtle intent, that you should not do well, because if you don't do well, I will do well. It's competition. But that having that subtle intent for someone can never make you a good person. And if that other person does fail or get stuck somewhere in a very subtle manner, I'm happy. I'm happy that someone has not done well. This cannot make you a good person, because it's making you a very selfish person. It's selfish to the point of enjoying somebody else's failure, because somebody else's failure is your success. So that feeling of competition can never raise you to a higher vibration. Competition actually takes us to our lowest energies. Sometimes I share in programs, if two people are just driving on the road from one place to the other, different cars, right? So different talents, different skills, different IQ is already there. Two people cannot be identical. But if they take it as a journey, that if I'm going from, let's say I came yesterday from Gulbarga to Hyderabad, 3-hour journey, so many cars on the road. Everyone is a family inside the car. Cars are different. Each one is enjoying, singing, eating, talking, if they're on a journey. But somewhere on the journey, one looks at the other and says, let's compete, let's race. Now the journey is completely different. Now I don't want to talk to my family. I don't want to listen to the radio. I don't want to eat. I just want to say, I have to go ahead of this person. But my car and their car is different. So suppose my car doesn't have that capacity to go ahead of them, then I will break the red signal somewhere just to go ahead of them. So the whole question of ethics, principles, only comes because we break our ethics and principles to go ahead of other people, because we were taught that I'm successful only if I go ahead of them. And most important, if somewhere on the journey the other person gets stuck, I will not get down to help them. If I was on a journey, I will help. If I'm in a race, I will not help. And most important, I will actually have a sense of pleasure that they are stuck. And this really takes us very, very, very low in a human, emotion. So competition is one sanskar. We should just
people joke, you say, oh, this is a rat race.
Yeah, exactly.
And everyone will say, oh, that means you're a rat. And we still keep racing.
But people think that it's the competition which will make you. But see, look, you have to learn from here that you quit the competition, which means in your mind, you're not in a race, but you're working very hard to be that achiever and to reach the number one. You reach the number one, you work hard to be the number one, but you don't work keeping in mind that I want to go ahead of this person. So your energy towards the other person, your energy about yourself is completely different. You actually, I'm sure he can actually stop and help and teach the other person to go ahead. And I want to just it will just change you as a person completely. You're ready to teach the other person everything that you know. You're not fearing that they will go ahead of you. This actually increases self-respect, self-worth, and there's so much calm inside, and most important, good energy for the other people. So automatically, that's why he said, I become more friendly. Because otherwise, you say team spirit. Actually, you're actually not wanting the other person to do well. So it's not only with opposite teams. Within a team also sometimes there is a competition. Within a team, the competition is a very low vibrational energy. So shifting to cooperation, shifting to helping people to move ahead will take you way beyond your capacity.
Yeah, and therefore I think, Gopi, you're called a gentle giant, because you achieve the best of what you can. I think you said you talked about that shift. But today you've coached and you've created so many others, let alone how you succeeded with your competitors. Do you feel that the purpose behind what drove you to do that? And when you look back today, what part of this journey excites you the most?
I think I'll continue from where Sister Shivani is actually. It's very interesting because my shift from being a coach to a player, so a player to a coach, happened at a night, in the middle of the night somewhere, where I was at this stage of my career after 2001 when I won the All England. In 2002, I had a right knee surgery and multiple injuries on my right side because I had put too much pressure on my right side over the years. And it was an overuse injury, which never really got better 100%. So I was coaching part, I was playing part. And there was a certain tournament in 2004, which I played, where I competed against the players whom I coached. The player in me was desperate to win. The coach in me wanted me to lose. Mm-hmm. And that night was the worst feeling I had. And in between, somewhere in the night, I decided, boss, I'm never going to compete again. And I've stopped playing after that. To a point where I don't know how many can relate to this. When you lose, you feel happier because your student is better. And that's the feeling you actually live with. And I've been so graciously happy that I was able to get that feeling every day when my student is winning and I'm, say, 20 and 19, and I cheat to lose. And I step down to lose. And the feeling is so, so nice that it's really strange that I have to say it in this way, but actually winning has very little meaning. And when you own that space and then your student and he's or she is better than you, and they feel happy and you're like happy to lose. So that's the kind of feeling which I really had. And that night somewhere, that dilemma of a coach to player was the one which moved. So in my career, what has happened is I learned a lot from some fantastic coaches, a lot also from trial and error, traveling to different parts of the world. So when I won the All England, I was over 27. And for me, in my mind, I'm thinking, I wish I knew the secret to win when I was younger. Mm. And when I finished my badminton career, I had this great formula, what you need to be mentally, technically, tactically, physically. And then I didn't have the body to use it. So found a bunch of young kids in Hyderabad. The oldest of them was Kashyap, about 16 years old. There were people like Sai Praneeth, Guru Sai Dutt, Sikki, Sumit, Saina was 13, Sindhu was 9. We just had a bunch of them, brought them to Gachibowli Stadium and started to actually share the formula. I never thought about purpose. At initial days where I started to play, and we all think in our heads that we really work hard because we get up at 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning. We don't have any holidays. From the day we start playing seriously in some sense, we actually don't have a break. And the body is physically tortured. And then you lose and you go through mentally down and up and down. So when in our minds, we are thinking that the day I win something big, I will celebrate and enjoy myself, get up at 8 in the morning, drink a cup of tea, go to work for a few hours, go play golf in the evening. That's how I imagine my life to be. And then I started to coach these kids. And then I started to work 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 7 became 6 o'clock, 6 became 5, and literally it became 3:45 because I was afraid that I would sleep a little more and that would mean that missing on my students' practice. And I just gave it all I have. And it almost became, they became everything for me. And that transformation from a player to coach, I don't know when it happened, how it happened. I didn't even think. I was so busy when it happened that happened and I didn't realize that it had happened. So that's how this whole journey is. It was not planned. It was not that I would structure myself as a career and this is what I would do. But it's just that these students were there. I had to give them. If they wanted shuttles, I gave them shuttles. If they wanted tournaments, I gave them tournaments. If they wanted practice, I gave them practice. And God's grace, the story of Indian badminton has changed over the years, and I'm very happy about it.
It's amazing. So how did he spiritually change? If you were to look at what he just said, he didn't realize that shift happening either.
You know, he's feeling he didn't realize, but he's taken some very major decisions. One thing he said, he shifted from competition to just focusing on the second one, to shift from not wanting to win there, but actually wanting your people to win. And when you're going through the dilemma, any normal mind will say, it's okay if they are in the opposite team, that's fine. The best person will win. So why can't I continue playing? Doesn't matter. I'll coach them every day. And then finally in the game, it's a normal mind. This is a little different mind. That different mind said, no, I'm enjoying the feeling of them winning. My winning is one feeling, but they winning is a completely different feeling. So it's somebody who has to prioritize that, is experiencing something innately very, very deep. So he's going above his achievements to just feeling very nice. So he has taken a decision. It has not just happened on its own. This is a very big decision. Not many people will be able to take this decision. So it's that decision which then became the turning point. That decision is a very big turning point. It's not easy to give up. And that to not think about it, talk about it just one night to make that decision, that's been the changing point. So obviously when you're going to make such a big decision that you've put aside your game and you've prioritized them, then that ability to be able to give your everything to them will automatically come natural because you already gave your everything to them. That night, you actually gave everything to them. You could have done so much more, do that. But that night, you actually first gave everything to them. And then after that, everything else is only coming out in the physical. But here, that night, you gave everything to them. So that decision was taken that night. Rest is a result of that night's decision. So this is that. See, every person will have one speciality. This is spiritually very uplifting, where you are prioritizing your innate karma over your outer achievement. And you are prioritizing this over this. So this is a high vibrational energy. So
Giving
yes.
more than just sleeping. I think it's so universal.
Yeah, it is.
All the achievers, what you talked of, waking up early, putting in that extra effort, giving, and that's the joy of what you.
But that will come easy. That is not difficult. It is that night's decision which has to take. Rest is rest is easy to happen because he's put his priority very clear. Once you put your priority very clear, then put aside my career for this. Then time, energy, and effort will come natural to the person.
As we are talking, we see you seem so calm. That's the beauty of also you as an athlete. You're playing a rigorous game, but you always exude this calmness. And the good part is you've coached people to be able to do that. That's
for me, I think when I look at this journey, it's almost like as an athlete, your life is very beautiful because it's not the money, the fame, the victories. It's just the focus this life of an athlete gives you. Everything in your athlete's life is against one simple question: what will make me a better athlete? I'm eating food, it's designed to make me play better. My thinking, my travel, my meeting people, everything is here one single question. That makes you're trained, and that quality of self care, self love, self improvement is something which you've grown with for 15, 20 years in your life. I started playing at say 12 and 10, 30. I'm like, you spent 18 years benefiting from the fact that you've prioritized yourself about everything else. Your self practice, self food, self care, everything. Coaching happens in exactly the opposite direction. The mirror, if that night, in some sense, if I have to put an analogy, it's like the mirror was like this, and I just had to shift it here. And as sister said, it just happens at that moment. It just happens. It doesn't take you gradually for you to think and happen. And it just, the moment it happens, it's happened. And now everything what the athlete, your student wants, you have to give, or needs, you have to give. And that shift is actually, the moment it shifts, then everything shifts. But it's such a difficult thing because your inbuilt quality is to look at yourself and you, and that has got you here. So to drop that off in that instance, I think is a big challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why when they say this, that great players don't become great coaches. And I think somewhere it's that innate training to look at yourself. If you're not able to drop it or turn the mirror on the other side, I think that's where the shift, I think, is important.
It's probably the most powerful, like what you said, both moment and I think learning in this journey that we can capture, because it is one, it's also somewhere dropping, of course, whatever we can use the word ego, whatever, and putting it to someone else. But then even post that, then letting go. Because tomorrow when the player becomes great or they become great, then they become the center and then they will continue to go from there. So that letting go, is that also something that then becomes natural? Did it come naturally to you, or you dealt with some, internally, how were you dealing with that? I mean, you're very calm on the way. What you see, Gopi, is that how you are internally also all the time?
Oh, I was young. They would coin me as the McEnroe of badminton because I was very, very volatile. I would just throw rackets and hurl chairs and stuff. I was so angry. But 1995, 96, when I had this injury, and the train journey took me through a book, The Autobiography of a Yogi. That was his first book. You get these books and you start them off. And then I started on my slight spiritual journey in some sense. I was at the Art of Living. And most importantly for me, I think breathing, calming yourself, you can call it mindfulness, meditation, yoga nidra. They have really been tools which have been supremely helpful in whoever I am. I think without those tools, I would have not been able to pass this journey this well. And for me, I think a lot of us think about holding, grit, determination, not giving up. I think at a point of time, these very things which have got us here become a burden for us. I think the art of letting go, the analogy which I can think of is when you know that you're falling off the cliff, might as well jump off the cliff and prepare yourself to jump onto your next goal rather than fall in despair and in shock. Rather than it, when you know that it's not working, I think it's important to jump off. So, luckily for me, in my journey as an athlete, I let go of my playing career with a vengeance. That's how I could be the coach I am. So, when you have athletes, you have to let go of. I'm happy because that gives you the space to work with the next. And at the end of this journey of many years, all happens for a reason. And I think God's always kind and He has a plan for you. And that's how I would take this journey. Because, yes, we can always be super enthusiastic and get on this journey. But when you fall, it hurts. And I think just take the fall as a jump and then look for a firm grounding to move on rather than stay down in that place and spend time. So I think for me, the ability to let go is a very important thing. I think people lose matches. They like, you lose a point and then staying back in that. I say, just get out of that. Get out of losses quickly. Get out of your career quickly. In the sense, just there's something else waiting on the other side, even better. And that enthusiasm, that feeling of energy, I think is very, very important. And we've been trained to grit, determination, hard work, not giving up. But at a point of it's too much of a burden. I think to let go is very, very important. And I think it's very important that you have to do that. And champions in many sense do that. I would have, say, Saina or a Sindhu or a Shrikant or a Satvik. You give them the toughest of training, they will first want to finish the toughest part first and go head on and crack it rather than take the easy route and keep the rest for the end of the week. They will say, might as well Monday morning come, I want to get done with it. And you want to have that attitude. You want to challenge the biggest fears you have. You want to challenge the biggest lows you're going to face. I said, tomorrow, no, I'll do it now. Let me finish it. I think that attitude is what is very important. It's a champion's mindset in some sense.
No, absolutely. And I think that next moment, right now, always speaking, this is the moment you have to do all. Okay. Right. So letting go is actually very natural because even if you choose not to let go.
But what I was thinking, what he's been able to do is the sanskar of letting go, which is in the game, which means in you, he's able to use that same sanskar in life. Okay, so you said every athlete has this sanskar of doing this thing first, letting go. But not maybe everybody will use that same thing in life. So one thing is to have that thing in the game, but the other thing is to be able to have that same thing in life. They were completely two different things. Completely two different things. So I could develop that skill even in my mind in the game, but maybe when it comes to life, I would have a sanskar of holding on a lot. But that's been his speciality. He's used that same sanskar in his life. And that's what makes him the person he is. That's what makes him the vibration is. That's the reason why he's calm, because he's not holding on to anything. Here, it's not even letting go here. You know, if something, I've groomed somebody and someone's left, I can't anyways do anything about it. But if I'm holding on to it here, and then holding on to it would definitely not be the best of thoughts. And then there are so many people saying things to you about it, and so many people saying things like you've been wronged or this, so many things. At all that time, to be able to let go here and to keep this mind very clean and not create any clutter influenced by what others are saying or influenced by what has happened in life. That is that real let go, no? In the game, let go, yes, you're trained for it. So maybe you're able to train everybody else, but to be able to do it here and to be able to keep that dignity of an athlete, but that same dignity in life, that to keep that dignity and not allow yourself here to come down, and to just remain very, very high. And so when we don't create a single thought about the other person, irrespective of what another person has done in our life, and that other person could be anybody, it could even be in our relationships actually. If we don't keep a single thought about the other person, even in the subconscious, like, there's just no trace about it. And the world will say, like, how is it that you're not feeling bad? Or how is it you're not feeling let down? Or it's okay. I worked on it. And now it's not there. There's not even a trace of that thread there over there. That's what gives that calm mind. He can't fake that. It comes from that innate work that he's done with the mind, apart from what you've done on the game. So letting go is your sanskar as a person, not just as the athlete.
I think somewhere in this whole journey, you realize that, and once you've trained many, many athletes, you realize that, of course, hard work is important. Great determination, all of it is important, but it's not the end all. The amount of work you put necessarily doesn't give you the results which come. So there is something more to it than which meets the eye in the cells. So I can't claim credit for who I am.
That's underlined. That's the sanskar. So these are the sanskars that we have to take. Because also as a coach, I'm sure his life's experience says, I'm training 10. So then all 10 should reach with it. Because I'm the same coach, the same facility, the same academy, my same effort, my same everything. And I should be able to bring all 10. It's like a teacher, no? The teacher should be able to bring all students to that. It's more. So finally, we can give everything, but everything is not in our hands. Everything is not in our hands. So that anybody who realizes that will shift from ego to humility. Which is automatic. And then you give like prasad, You just give it like you have this prasad, you give it to everybody. What they do with that prasad is going to be their destiny. And if they look back at you and don't even thank you for that prasad, that's perfectly fine. My role was only up to giving you that prasad. After that, nothing. That's what's going to keep him calm. And then that's what's going to help him to give that highest energy to the next person who's going to work with. So that's the beauty of that.
But you still, from those 10, will pick somebody, like in your case, I remember with Sindhu, you had some contracts, you should eat this, do that, What that was because you were invested in her specifically differently from other coaches. How did that come about? Because your story as a coach is also very different, right, from many others.
I think to be true to this, I think thoughts come from somewhere else. They don't come from you. When you're calm, you can pick them up. They're there. People will come, tell you. You might see something which might trigger something. So I think to own and say that I did it is also a kind of a mistake, so I don't want to sound humble in that sense, but this is the reality.
It's a reality.
No, you're talking to a set of people who
completely agree with this.
So I'm like, when you're sitting there, you have to be like when I'm sitting in the match, I'm very aware of what my heartbeat is, how much I'm pumping in, because the pressure, the anxiety which the player is seeing, I feel if I am anxious here, then it just adds on to the pressure. So just take 2 steps back, be in the moment. You want to do it, try to pick the right advice to give him without passing on any energy which is making him more anxious than what he is. If anything, just calm him down. The only way you're going to calm him down is if you are calm. You can say whatever words you want, but if the heart is actually not in sync with what you're tongue is saying, then it's not going to work. So just calm down, take 2 steps back, and then your advice will be the correct one. Don't be afraid of failure, because to play safe is not the game. To be childlike, to be relaxed, and to actually give it all you have with a smile on your face, and then saying, if I fail, I fail. Tomorrow morning, I'll come back again stronger. It's a long game to play. You've got years. You'll get your other chance again. It's not the only chance in life. So with that kind of a playful attitude, you go in there and you're ready to experiment, and you're ready to accept if you are at fault. So you're very open to that. And then you start looking at things very differently. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe something else is happening which I am not able to see. Let me just invest in it, investigate in it, and then find the best answer for my student or for my problem. So that's the way I would really go. And it all comes from a heart which is very calm. So breathing, yoga nidra, meditation, all of these things help. You can't think your way out of a problem too much. Sometimes you just need to let go and then sit, and then the answers will come by themselves.
So letting go as a experience, letting go as a word, letting go as a feeling, letting go in theory, letting go in practice. I'm just saying this word is so powerful because at some point you're also helpless. Because you have to have let go, right? We can't, I'm just saying you can't go back to the previous moment in any case. But people don't realize that, like what you're saying. So if one were to take letting go as I'm just, as we are conversing, and I'm just thinking of the power of that one thing, to not only change the destiny of an individual or to be able to get someone to be the best version of themselves, or for a sport or for a country or for the world. How would you look at letting go for different people today? Right? How should they relate to the word like letting go?
Letting go is actually in the mind. Sometimes, like you said, anyways, you don't have any option. So you're letting go here. But it's not about letting go here. You can let go here. Anyways, you've not even let go. It just happened. So it's let go. But it's let go here. It's let go here. It's that what will become your power. Otherwise, that will become your weakness because you're holding on to some energy. And what was very beautiful, which every parent listening to this should do, that if that student whom he has coached is playing there, he knows they're going through their anxiousness of winning. And he, as the coach, is saying, I should not add anxiousness to theirs. And that is not done by what I speak. That's done by what I feel. Every parent has to pick this up. Your child, whether he's studying or whether he's working, whatever he's doing, he's already going through their own stresses and anxiousness. Your role is just don't add anxiousness to theirs. It's not about the advice that you're giving. It's about the vibration that you're radiating. So you can actually enhance their performance by empowering them, by remaining calm yourself. So you've trained them, taught them, they are there, you've given them everything. At the same time, to be able to let go from the outcome of what is now going to happen in the next 2 hours over there. When you let go of the outcome only, then you can be calm. Till you're holding on to the outcome, they have to win. This is also about me. It's not just about them. I'm the coach. That identity though is always going to be there with me. So as long as I hold on, that attachment of, obviously I'm in the game, I have to win, they have to win. There will be that slight element of what if and if not, and that is what creates the stress. So he is saying calm because of the practice. This is not just going to happen by thinking I have to be calm. The practice of meditation, breathing, he's able to let go of the attachment also to, yes, obviously they have to win. No, let go and be in the moment and said, you've done everything. Now we're just there to play. And like he said, there's another day. So that is going to keep him relaxed. His vibration reaches the student. In parents' case, it reaches your child. It empowers them. And when he is calm, the intuitive self is going to work. And what he's going to say to them, like what you said, what is needed right now, is going to come from deep wisdom. From deep wisdom. When we are stressed, there's a lot of clutter here. So stress is noise in the mind, and letting go is a silent mind. There's no noise. There are no thoughts playing over there. It's just there. You're just there, and suddenly you'll feel there's nothing happening over here. You feel I'm not even thinking anything. It has become so silent. And from that silence, suddenly he will come up with something which is the need of the hour there. So this is something which every parent, every relationship, every leader, every doctor, because intuition is needed everywhere. Even in a doctor making a diagnosis, actually you need to be intuitive, but you just hold on to your previous thing and you say, obviously, this silence, you'll come up with something completely different. So letting go is even there. Letting go to my past experience, letting go of my achievement, letting go of my belief system that this is right. Letting go is very deep. It's less outside.
Fear of my future.
The fear of failure. Letting go is... Every time you are experiencing letting go, it means this is silent. When this is not making any noise, you've let go of something. And letting go is actually surrender. Letting go is only surrender. That we've prepared, we planned, we decided, we did everything. Now let go of the outcome of what is going to happen here and just enjoy the game. So again, whether it's a game on the field or whether it's in the game of life, role will remain the same. So letting go will experience silence here. So whenever you're experiencing no thoughts, you've actually let go of something which you were attached to. It's a very, very powerful feeling. Keeps you very calm.
Yeah. And you can keep going deeper on this subject because something is gone, then why are we not able to let go? Sometimes it's as simple as a realization, right? Like what you say.
Even past
experiences. It's anyway gone. Yeah. So why are we not able to let go? But then we hold on to.
Because that time when we lost that, even if someone's not behaved right with me, let's say, the scene is over. Okay, it could have happened 1 week back or 1 year back. But that impression is still there on my mind. It's still there. And if someone mentions the person's name, I will just rewind and I will have that whole experience there. I can have a tear in my eye also. That's how much I've held on to it. Because that day we were creating hurt when that thing was happening. So I may let go of the incident, but I have not let go of the hurt that I created that day because I'm not using any spiritual practice to heal my hurt. So I have not let go of the hurt. So it's still there. I may have let go of the person. So even in cases where some relationship doesn't work anymore, you let go of the person, but you're not let go of the emotional wounds that were created in that relationship when you were there. And so you're going through a lot of pain. So let go will have to be of healing the hurt. So because he's playing, he's coaching, but he's also meditating daily. He's also doing his yogic practices. So it is healing him on a daily basis. It's not that something happens and I create no thought. Something happens, I create a thought. I heal it. And because I heal it, next time I create a very different quality of thought also if the same thing happens. So, see, that is what he's focused on mind fitness along with everything else of the game. And that's what makes him the person he is. And then obviously that will radiate into everything that he does.
And you created the Dhyana app. Tell us a little bit about that because it's exactly what, Mr. Shivani is just saying.
I think for us, when I tell athletes that they need to relax, they need to kind of meditate, they need to kind of do Yog Nidra, the point is they used to all measurable things. Today I lifted 10 kg weights, tomorrow it's 11 kg weights, and I see an improvement. The physical muscle sees improvement, but the mental muscle doesn't see that improvement visibly. So it's an act to try and see that, to kind of make them on that path where you tell them that your HRV, your heart rate, your focus is all, your breathing is in a certain way. So you actually manage to meditate for so much time. So it's a measurable act of something which is needed. So for somebody who's really there at the top, I don't think it's needed. But to people to start off with and to pick a watch and say, okay, today I did 10 minutes, out of which 6 minutes I've been mindful, 4 minutes I've not been. I think it's an app for that kind of a reason.
I mean, your story is so interesting because sometimes it's just that moment, realization, and you are able to give so much power to that moment of shift that you carry on and you change your whole life and you allow everything to happen post that. And many others will say journey. I'm a little better today than I was that. You see it that's the logical process, right? And if someone does something is too accelerated, oh, these are too little, contrary. It comes from a thought kind of a thing. If one had to kind of break it down for somebody who's hearing our conversation today and say, okay, at the end of this podcast, what should I go and do to make myself, a better person, a better thing, to have a greater achievement, to let go easier? What should they do?
Self-care. That was the word he shared right in the beginning. And when he said that self-care means the mirror is towards me, and when I'm coaching, the mirror is that side. So which means self-care then made him selfless. See, that made him powerful. But it started with the principle of self-care. Self-care not just at the body level, but at the mind level, because he was practicing both those things. So it was his power of self-care which made him selfless. And it is that power of selfless which became power for other people. So you're able to radiate power when you're creating it. You become selfless, and that empowers everybody. So everybody needs to do this. You don't have to be a sports person to want to do this. Everybody, every individual, practice self-care. Make it a part of your life. Like he said, it can't be measured. So, we don't get that instant sense of achievement like we would get by going to a gym or even by doing a certain yoga posture. I say, I did so many asanas today. Meditation, you have to just sit silent for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You don't immediately see any result out of it. You can't quantify what you have done. It takes time. But then that is what makes you a very calmer person, because you're not again holding on to or dependent on immediate outcome, something out of it. But you practice that self-care. So everyone can take this one thing from him today. They'll create the same magic in their life. Self-care, put it on priority. Put it on priority. Stop saying, I don't have time for it. You're actually saying you don't have time for the most important part of your life. The most important thing. You're saying, I don't have time for it. So, because people feel sitting like this for 10 minutes is such a waste of time. They feel it's a waste of time. I could have done this much work. I could have done this. I could have practiced this. I could have gone there. What they don't realize is that is actually about investing your energy. So I think one thing, if everybody can take from here, it'll create a big shift.
And I think particularly for you, Gopi, because, of course, when you see success, little success gives expectation of greater success. And I know, like, take the Summer Olympics, right? Everyone was saying, now India will get a gold medal, right? We can get bronze, we can get silver. Because then you look at the achievement, right? How do you look at, I know we quite clearly understand, you put the best effort and really not be, whatever the best has to happen will happen. But when people say that, or when you hear, how do you respond? Or what happens to you both within and otherwise?
Well, I think to have the clarity of how much you can impact, and to have a clear picture of not to take things too seriously. I think that's very important as well. Because you can only do so much, and everybody has to do their part as well. So I can't be critical about my work all the time and live a life as saying I have to solve the whole problem. I can put it up and somebody else will have to take it from there. So that's how I at least get a peace of mind for myself. I'm not in that space to change the entire country's narrative about sport. But having said that, I think something which has helped me not be complacent is these three things: tan, man, or dhan ka corruption. Dhan ka corruption is when you actually, the basic form of corruption, which is you corrupt somebody, which is the usual form of corruption. There's tan ka corruption, which is actually where you have the physical ability to work harder and put your body through a grind, and you're not. And that's a higher form of corruption you have to be aware of all the time. So I'm just checking myself, have I really worked hard enough physically? And the third element is the man ka corruption, where you have the ability to think big and you're not thinking big enough. I think that's a form of corruption I want to be clear about. So at some level, letting go is very important, but letting go would also mean sometimes that you're too lazy to say, okay, I say kuch nahi hoga kind of thing. But at that level, I think these three words come to me. Am I corrupt at dan, man or tan ka corruption? And I have to be careful about it. So I'm very aware of the fact that, boss, I shouldn't be that way. And I just want to push it. God's grace, I am at a position where I can influence a few things. I have to speak up on a few things. I have to be responsible for these things. And I try to do the best of what I can. And then I let go. And then next day morning, I try again. Because what I've achieved has been far more than what my dream could have got me. So I'm saying, okay, let me walk tomorrow morning aggressively and with a smile and with energy. And next day morning, I'll walk again and let's see how far I go. And that's the attitude which I have. And at the end of the day, I know that at some point in my career, in my life, when I let go completely, I will be happy and proud of what I've achieved. But at the moment, I'm not thinking about it.
But you're still very focused. What's your life outside of badminton, if I may ask?
Very little. For the simple reason that I love my sport. Today morning, I got on court. I had a bunch of kids who've come. I trained them. And I'm supremely happy that I am able to hold a racket and play. I don't know how long I'll be able to play with the injuries or with this. But every day I play, I'm very grateful for being able to play. And I'm so happy. And now there's a time for me, it comes and goes once often, where I'm just happy to give. And I don't care about whether the athlete will make it or not as well. So there's no expectations even from the athlete also. I'm just happy to just give because I am happy to give. So that's the space I'm in. And it's a very happy life I have. So any deviation out of it, I find it a burden. But I'm very happy to play. I'm happy to coach. I'm happy to be part of this ecosystem. And when I finish, I just go back home and rest and meditate and I'm happy.
What more? Happy, peaceful, grateful,
Simple.
loving,
Simple.
You talk of gentle, all. And I think these are all attributes that we all know that everyone wants it, aspires for it. It's just
one
making
thing
it a
what we
practice.
can take from here, what we were doing in the earlier podcast, how many hours we should work.
Yes, that's a national debate and discussion, right? Today.
So if you're happy, not excited, happy. Happy means calm. So then you don't need anything apart from that. Then your work doesn't feel like work. I'm sure he doesn't need to go on a holiday to feel happy. That's the best part. You don't need to go and party to feel happy because you're creating and experiencing that happiness while doing what you're doing. It doesn't feel like work also. Even the word work is not right in that. It doesn't feel like work at all.
Every day I get up and I'm saying, boss, what a life I have. I as a 10-year-old, I wore my shorts and went to play. And as a 50-year-old, I still get to wear my shorts and go to play.
If every corporate person starts practicing this self-care and keeps their mind calm, then this whole issue of how many hours we would work will not come. Of course, it's not saying you keep on working, that's everyone's choice, but it will not be a topic of discussion. It will not. It's becoming a topic of discussion because everybody's saying, but we're already stressed. So if we work longer, whereas because of that word stress attached to work. So it's first thing we need to do is remove the word stress from work and stop calling it work stress. Then we will say work happiness. That is where we have to shift to.
Work joy, maybe. Work joy. I think that's the beauty. It's been such a lovely conversation so far. We'll go into our next segment or last segment, typically like we would like to do in a podcast. So, Gopi, besides, beyond badminton, as I said, and also while you look at people, you were just mentioning about Deepthi earlier. Can you tell us how that thing came about and what really was that story all about? A 60 rupee bus ride to today Arjuna Award possibility. Take us a little bit through that journey.
I think for me, sport has been such a great life lessons for me. When I started playing, it was all about champion. When I started coaching, it was all about champion. And then there was a time when I threw a shuttle to a kid and the kid couldn't catch a shuttle. And then I was a little annoyed. I said, if you're in my class, you need to be focused, is the word which I used. And she said, sorry, sir. And then after the session, she comes back to ask me, sir, can you please teach me how to catch? I had tears in my eyes answering that because I'd never thought I would have to answer a question like this. So that very question actually changed the very perspective of how I looked at life. Till that time, as you said, if I had 10 kids, I would pick 2 of them or 1 of them and train them 6-8 hours a day obsessively. And my yardstick is to produce the champion. And the 9 of them, where they went, I wouldn't care. Suddenly, everybody started to matter. And that kid actually started, I said, boss, she is important and she is important. I think somewhere in this journey of excellence, we're probably asking ourselves the wrong questions. We're asking, where is the talent? Probably as teachers, as parents, as society, as leaders, as managers, we should be asking the question and saying that all of my kids are talented. I have to find out where their talent is. I think that actually came out from that question where the child dropped, and it made me pause and say, what the hell am I doing? And since I'm treating champion is the only word which I'm using. And it's such a hollow thing because you have produced some great champions who are very hollow inside. And you've broken some kids in the name of competition, which is not necessary. So the way we look at this entire structure needs to be very different. And it also, I think we were talking about why do our people have a silver and a bronze medal, or why not a gold medal mentality? The point is we are obsessed about that champion, that he falters because at that stage he thinks that I'm going to do something remarkably well. No, it has to be the refining of the process which gets you there, not something which makes you or believes you that you're a superhuman being. It just happens. So, theek hai, ho gaya. Next day morning, you start off again. It's nothing great you've done, or not, the loser has not done something drastically wrong. I think when you put these things, then there's too much of burden. When a guy is shooting and you say that this is like a 10 crore shot, or the 1.24 billion people are going to watch you and pray for you and applaud you, there's too much of baggage on your head. You don't want that. You want to be light. You want to be risk-taking. You want to have your hand which is free and your heart to pump naturally. When you actually put this 1.5 billion people and a 10 crore and a award and everything, and then that's a lot of clutter in the mind. You want to back that off. So I think the way we look at champions, the way we treat champions, the way we look at the process, we look at every kid, I think that needs to fundamentally change. We need to reprogram the way we are looking at champions and role models in our society. I think somewhere in our education system, somewhere in our belief system, I think we need to re-look at this. We have a lot of confused people becoming role models. We have a lot of confused children taking them as role models. And this whole ecosystem needs to break down to some sanity. The champion is not the end all. The person is not lost, is not the end all. It's okay. Everybody just take a step back, focus on the process. You win, very good. You lose, no problem. It's very good. And I think that mindset, I think, is important somewhere. So for me, when I look at this kid, Deepthi, specifically what you asked, so my journey came up in a very strange manner. Somebody came me, and this is a movie in Telugu, which is called Kaleja, which came up where he asks for 10 rupees for himself, and the person refuses him. Whereas he goes to another person and asks him to give me $1,000, and then he gives him 1,000. So he asks you, what has changed? He said, the first time I asked it for myself, I didn't get it. The second time I asked it to feed somebody, and he gave it. I think that very instant actually inspired this whole athletic journey, because somebody came to me to be a talk for a corporate. So I said, boss, why should I come to you for a corporate? And then they said, no, you tell me what. I said, you don't give me anything. You don't give my badminton kids anything. They are those kids in the Gachibowli stadium who are athletes. You give them something. He says, no problem. And they went on to support the ecosystem. And today we have 4 medals come out of the academy for the 4 Arjuna Awards which have come out, and multiple medals which have come out of that project. So sometimes I think it's God's grace which actually makes this happen. And when I look at para-athletes, when I look at dwarf children who are playing, I'm saying, boss, God has not been very kind to them. If they can have the smile on their face, it just tells me to be grateful about what I have and what am I cribbing about. And for me, I think when you have, we have blind kids at the academy, we have some dwarf kids, we have para-Olympians who have medals, and also the able-bodied. But then for me, I'm looking at a society where somebody has, as a child, a problem. And the parent, after the initial shock, is like, okay, no problem. I have an opportunity for him to shine at this sport. And we have those avenues. So that's what I would really want that to happen. And that would change communities and people in many, many ways.
Mm-hmm. No, it's so empowering and energizing, because like coming to Deepti's case, because she had you went and also found out that mental level qualified her to be able to play in the Paralympics, and then, just train and get these. I mean, these are stories that what you say, when the whole ecosystem falls in place, we start appreciating and we will see these awards. I think the gold mindset, what you said, it comes from the scarcity. I think for a nation of our size, we've not seen enough of that in the past. Right? If you see so many other countries where they get multiple medals, and everybody wants to ask, what is that difference, right? We have everything. Why are we not able to make that happen? And I think maybe the hopes come from there. I don't know. But
it doesn't come from there. Huh? Even after we get it, we will always want it.
We want more. That's the other problem.
It's not coming from there. It's coming from that is only success. What he's saying is everyone is successful.
Of course. So I think as a society, we all need to be able to
So you look at cricket, we've
that.
got World Cups, we've got so many. But today also, if they lose something, there's so much chaos in the country about it. So it's not that because we haven't got it, that's why. It's just there about being that number one, that attachment to that. Is
how much do you attach to that expectation? You can link to that. Very interesting. But
so this is a journey of shifting from attachment to the achievement to the journey of the person.
Amazing.
Valuing the journey of the person. And then achievement will come. That's okay. It's important. Again, you're not disregarding the achievement, but you're prioritizing the journey of the person. You're prioritizing again the person rather than the achievement. For us, what's happened, we've conditioned a society saying, if you achieve, you're successful. If you're not, you're a failure. But the person put in years and years of effort, all that, waking up at 3:30, doing all this. And so easy for a whole country to say, oh, you failed because you did not get that. That person is successful, but we've changed our labels very quickly. So that's the thing. So it's about the journey of the person which needs to be appreciated, inspired, learn for yourself also.
And if that journey is there for 8 billion people on the planet, which is unique, I think we will create a very happy world and a calmer and a more peaceful world as well. Now, as I said, we'll go into this little last section, few questions, just pointed, maybe get a few mindful minute kind of answers. So, maybe I'll start with you, Gopi. And, if you could relive one moment from your career, right? Really point that one moment from your career as a player, what would that be? The high or, the moment from your career that matters most?
I think the high of the All England and the low of the Olympics. I think the low of the Olympics is what I would want to relive and not feel so bad about it. Because I just felt miserable after losing the Olympics in 2000. So if I had a chance, I would say it's okay to lose. It's okay.
You know what, I was just thinking, why they feel so miserable? Because a very big population of our country feels miserable that day. And that's what that vibration radiates to that person. It's collective energy of billions of people saying, there's so much clutter here. And if together billions of people create energy for one person at the same time, even if that person wants to feel fine, they won't be able to feel fine about themselves. So that collective energy, so if the mindset, our mindset as a public changes, that you appreciate the person, you bless the person, you congratulate the person, not only but because they even went through that experience. That person, even if they're feeling low, they will be empowered just because of the collective energy of billions of people.
So you've just given him a new job to do. So if you really want to feel good, you got to change the feeling in a billion people, which I know you're working on.
I think what Eckhart Tolle tells in The Power of Now, and I think it's so important because when the thought first comes, it doesn't have the same power. You can actually, if you're mindful and the thought comes, you can disregard it and you can let go of it. But you hang on to it for 10 minutes, then you hardwire into the negativity of the city. And that's a billion bulbs going. And now you don't have power to go out of it. I think it's very important that at the first instant when it happens, you're mindful and you pick it up and put it to the side. And I think that is very important. You stay longer, it overpowers you, and you don't have the power anymore to get out of the matrix. And it's too overpowering for you as a person to come out. And that's when I think we need the spiritual master to come and take that and clear you. And I think it's very important that we actually have those technical. Luckily in India, we have those things and we should use those things to get out.
So we'll come to our spiritual master for 1 minute on how do we build defeat. So what's the message for someone when they've got defeat? What's the first thing or the only thing they should do?
I'll want you to elaborate on what I said.
Yes,
because I think she had a word.
That's why I'm moving exactly to her.
That's on this platform, we always keep talking about it's the first thought which is all important. Everything else will be taken care of. But if I take one wrong thought means a lower energy thought, then it just becomes a series of thoughts after that. So when we're studying spiritual principles, spiritual content, like you said, you read it from the book. So when we are consuming that right content, it's actually giving us a vocabulary of thinking. It's giving us a language of how to think. So when the situation will come, that what I have learned will be my first thought. So that's why it's so important for everyone to absorb that vocabulary of right thinking, so that when a situation comes, it comes as their first thought, not after 5 minutes, because it really becomes tougher. It becomes tougher. It's like two roads. So which road have you gone on to? So once I start on this road, it's that side. But if in the first thought I go on this road, it just becomes easy. So it's easy if we absorb that language on a daily basis. So like you said, a book. And that gives you that language. And in an era where we're consuming a lot of other content, which is a different vocabulary, then automatically our first thought turns out to be one of that vocabulary, and that's what takes it. So that first thought is so dependent on what we are learning on a daily basis. That helps a lot because your spirituality actually gives you that this can be your first thought. Just hold it and keep it and use it when the time comes. And if someone does something wrong to you, this is your thought. Use it now. So because it's there in the cupboard, you just pull it out as your first thought. And when you pull it out as your first thought, you feel really light. Next time, you don't even have to pull it out. It automatically comes as your first thought because you experienced it. So you know this one always works. It becomes very easy with that.
What's your favorite sport outside of badminton?
Football.
Watching, playing?
I love playing. I wish I hadn't had my knee surgeries as much. But playing football was. But now I think I love it, any sport. I just love playing various kinds of sports.
One word, spiritual word for a coach. If I had to put one word, like what is a coach? How should an athlete view a coach? How should view or any person? We are coached by so many. Coach can have multiple meanings, right? Through a journey. What is that?
Detachment. See, he's detached to the outcome of. He's saying, I'm there, teaching them, but I'm not cluttering my mind that they have to. When he's detached from the outcome after years of effort put into there. And second, not taking credit, so humility. That is also detachment because you're first detached with the outcome and then you're detached with the feeling that I am responsible. Even the whole world would be saying you're responsible for the success of this person, but he's not accepting that. So that is also detachment. So detachment in both the ways.
Wonderful. And I'm going to end this podcast keeping this more light in that only because now I'm going to ask you to name one person who you think is going to be the next badminton star.
I think somebody will do it.
No, it's an unfair question. I know your detachment.
I think there's a lot of kids, and I'm hoping that in the years to come, we'll know many of them. And I wish, pray that we actually produce those top players. Name? I definitely miss.
That is again detachment. Otherwise, it would have been so easy for him to give a name. It's easy. You know how normally people will say, of course, I can see this person can make it, that person can. He's detached because he knows that in spite of everything, you really don't know what the outcome. This is that very deep detachment that I can see it that this person is very good. I still don't know what the outcome is going to be. So this is complete detachment from the outcome of what's happening. Very deep.
We need gopis and more gopis. And what a wonderful conversation this has been. I'm sure this is going to inspire so many others, not only, to think about badminton, but so many things that we have discussed and really come back to life.
It's for every parent also, I think. This thing is for every parent because what you're doing with your students, every parent can do with their child. Well,
thank you so much, Gopi, for joining us, being here. And of course, Sister Shivani, I have no words to say for her, as we will all say, just for putting everything in such a beautiful perspective. Thank you. You too can start or enhance your mindfulness journey using the ThinkRight app on iOS and Android store. It's got a huge number of daily affirmations, daily journeys, daily meditations that will enable us to hold your hand as you move in this transformative journey of life.